Hey everyone, welcome back to the SEL. So we're starting outside today because about a month ago I went to go pick up a layout that someone in my club knew. Her husband unfortunately passed away, and while she was able to sell off most of his collection, I believe she didn't want to have to sell the layout. So she reached out to the club and was wanting to see if anyone in the club knew, or just anyone was interested in picking up the layout. And a fellow club member reached out to me because I was the only O scale 3-rail O scaler in the club. So I went and picked up the layout, and you'll see here in a second, Gene helped me take down the layout. And while that video plays, I'm going to talk over it, and then we're going to walk out to the container unit where the layout ended up for temporary storage. So let's get going. So before we get started here on the disassembly video, I did want to name the brand of table this is, and if I say this wrong, I'm sorry. I believe it's Mianne, Mianne, customizable benchwork. When I took this layout home with me, the wife gave me the booklet that they were given whenever they built the layout. And if you're curious, the product number for the table was CL09-30, and I believe I have that here in the brochure. It was a 16 by 4 layout. So 16 feet long, 4 foot wide. So not exactly as wide as my table, but just a couple of feet longer. But let's get started in actually the disassembly here. I'm going to watch this live as I'm editing this and kind of talk to you. I'll walk you guys through our process here. So as you'll see here, I'm starting to take apart the control stand, starting with the 8, I believe it was 8 switches for his block system. And as we're taking apart the wires in a control stand here, we're labeling each one. So that way, if I ever wanted to rebuild this layout exactly as it was, it's possible. And pretty quick after that, we started doing, there's a terminal block on the back of the stand there that I was disassembling. And right after that, you'll see me start, as again, we're labeling stuff there. You'll see me start working on the switches and the transformer. So I really want to be able to use that transformer. I'm actually already using it now to power my lights and everything, my switches. So that way I have a much stronger power supply for that. But you'll see me now kind of taking apart some of the track screws, so that way we can take off the tabletop there and leave the track screwed down to it. So that way it's just one less thing we have to do in terms of disassembly and reassembly. And you'll see us there wrapping it up in strong plastic, so that way, for one, it stays secure on the way back home, and it stays clean in a container unit, which you'll see here in a couple of minutes. And now we're taking apart the actual table system, and you'll see it's a lot higher up than the one that I currently have in my layout room, which is one thing I really like about this layout, and I'm excited about expanding on whenever we go to build my house. And now we're moving on to the other side of the layout, where we're going to repeat the process, taking everything off underneath the table to be able to just lift off the tabletop and wrap it up too. And there was one troublesome screw on the other side that was hidden underneath one of the tracks pieces that we just could not find. It was just, for some reason, it was just invisible, but we were able to find it. And we're just making sure all the screws and stuff and wires were disassembled before we lift it off the next piece. So we're moving off the next piece and taping everything down so that way wires don't get crushed or stripped or torn. Taping it up, making sure it's good and sealed. And now we're doing the same thing with the table legs on that side, just making sure everything is good and secure, and all screws and metal posts are with where they're supposed to be. Get ready to wrap it up. And the next part of the table was kind of challenging because we weren't quite sure exactly what we wanted to do, but ultimately we decided to leave all the wiring that was already there. So that way if I wanted to reassemble this layout as it was whenever we took it apart, all I'd have to do is just reconnect the wires. There are a couple I'd have to redo just to do the way it was wired, but ultimately we decided to just take off the legs and leave the middle section as it was. Now that piece was actually the most challenging to get out due to its size, but the rest was pretty easy. But now that we're finished here taking apart the layout, let's move out to the container unit, and I'll kind of show you guys where it is now and what my plans are in the future for this particular layout. Alright, so this is our family storage container unit. I'm going to move the camera closer a little bit here. And I guess I'll flip it around so that way it's a little easier to see that way. So this is the layout. Like I said, we were going to keep it here in storage until I'm ready for it. Because right now, y'all, if y'all seen any of my videos, you know I really don't have a whole lot of space up there in the layout room. And you can actually kind of see my first HO layout here. I might go take a look at that here in a second. But this, I'll have to go get the name of the manufacturer. I'm sure I'll say it during the time lapse because it's up there in my layout room. But this is, I think, a 4 or an 8x16 table, and it's modular. So I'll be able to expand on it, which is why I want to save it for my house whenever that gets built, because it's modular, has a much higher table height, so that way for me, the table or the trains are a whole lot higher, which I like. I'm excited to be able to use this layout for whenever my house gets built, and that's a really good start for having a much bigger layout. And as you've seen in the video, that while it's a smaller layout and I wouldn't be able to run a whole lot of my stuff on it as it was, again, it's a fantastic start for what could be a massive layout in my new house when that gets built in the next year or so. But I guess while we're in here, we'll walk over to, I don't know how well this is going to show up in the video because it's getting darker the farther I walk back. This is the first layout I had when I was a kid. It's HO. My dad built it. I guess I can see if I can pull back this a little bit. I'm holding the camera with one hand. I'm not sure how. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I think it may be Atlas track. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that was my first layout when I was a kid. But moving back over to this, I'm really excited to see where this can take me. I'm still mulling over ideas of what I want the layout to be. But as I've said, this is a fantastic start for a table in the new layout room in the new house. So yeah, that was the layout that I went and got. I'm really thankful for the generosity of the family that was able to just give me the layout. And while I can't use the table as it is yet, I just don't have the room in my layout room. Again, I fully intend on using that layout as the basis of my new layout whenever my new house gets built. And again, I don't have any current plans for that layout room just yet, but once the house gets built, you can expect to see a bunch of videos on that as my progress goes on. But speaking of videos, I really appreciate all the support and comments and likes and subscriptions that I've seen over the last couple of months. I really wasn't sure how the channel was going to progress this month, but I've seen a whole bunch of growth, and it's all thanks to you guys who have subscribed and watched the videos, left comments, liked the video. I try to read as many comments as I can, or respond to as many comments as I can. And speaking of videos, again, if you like this one, make sure you leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of the video, and I'll see you guys next week.